Okay. Good morning, everyone. We are delighted to have such a brilliant response for our webinar on how game-based learning improves memorizing concepts. To start with, let me introduce our team for the webinar. So we have our very well-known industry expert, Mr. Pramil Verma, who has 20 plus years of enriched experience with learning management systems, and he will be sharing his expertise with us today on how game-based learning helped education industries and other corporates as well around the globe. Then we have Mr. George Ominde, our LMS expert operating from Nairobi as our partner as well. So, and he will be sharing his exclusive insights on the game-based learning feature in our platform. Then myself, Pooja Gupta, and I will be discussing on how game-based learning has evolved in the last few years and why. Now, before starting the webinar, I would like to share a small introduction about mElimu and its products. We started our journey in 2012, back in 2012, started expanding from different regions of Africa and followed by India and USA and other continents as well. And by now we are catering 4 LMS platforms. One platform for the higher education industry, second is for the skill development and non-profits, and then we have one LMS for corporates as well, and fourth one is the Salesforce LMS. But today we will be discussing game-based feature in all our platforms only. So to start with the webinar, first of all, I'm sure most of you must be knowing, slide change please, that what game-based learning is. But still, to start with, it is all about incorporating game-based learning into an LMS platform that helps learners to learn with fun, increase their motivation, and be at the center of their growth. There is no age to play, and also instructors will love it because of high response rate and involvement of learners. Now, Mr. Pramil, being an industry expert and having an exclusive 20 plus years of experience, you introduced the game-based learning feature in the iLearn platform back in 2021. So when the pandemic hit the market, how did you came up with this concept, and how do you think game-based learning turned out to be a game-changing concept in the LMS platform?
So first of all, good morning, all the participants and attendees. It's again connecting with all of you, really encouraging me and my team, seeing a good response and joining from all over the Africa and Middle East and Asian countries. So Pooja, actually, we started in 2010. When we started in 2010, what happened? We were serving with higher ed, and then we started adding other industries. Like we started with some institutions, TVET colleges, then we have non-profits, and we have skill developments, then we have corporate sectors, and many more that we have added and started serving them. We were always worried for one of the major challenges of institutions, higher eds and the corporates, that is not having proper contents within the LMS. And there were not that kind of aggressive assessment were happening. And due to this, what happened? The adoption goes down, right? And there was a lot of non-engagement happening. So that resultant started impacting on learners' performance, and their skill enhancement goes down, what we were saying. But during the pandemic, what happened? I would say the good thing happened. It actually, when everyone came to the online. So when everyone came to the online during that pandemic, what happened? It automatically, very quickly, the adoption was very high, right? Because everything came online, and within that period only, we thought of it. Why not? We can keep carrying this adoption for even the pandemic finishes. How we can make it ensure that it should be keep going on with that same pace, same adoption. There how a thought, an idea born to have a why not have a, game-based learning, right? Where we can make the learners more engaging, right? And that's how we started off the iLearn. iLearn is an interactive learning, and interactive learning is where the trainers are also very keen to create interactive content for the learners, and even the learners are now playing while playing they are learning as well. It's true and correct to say that iLearn actually came out as a game changer concept in the education and talk about learning and development areas. It not only increased the engagement rate, but I would say it is also useful for the learners to recollect easily, uh, to understand when they are talking about any studies and learning related to either the subjects or the products or any policies or any other things. So that's how we started actually, and added in our LMS with the game-based learning project.
Thanks a lot for your inputs, Mr. Pramil. And moving on to the next slides. And now the next of the presentation will be followed by Mr. George. So let's welcome Mr. George.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me clearly. So
Yes.
now let's look at why game-based learning is important in different environments or in different areas. First of all, we all know that when learning is monotonous, then it results into fatigue, meaning that most learners will actually be able to get the motivation low as they learn. So what we need to do is that with iLearn, what happens is that now the motivation keeps increasing. As long as you make it as interactive as possible, then the aspect of monotony is actually kicked out of the way. And what happens in this scenario is that the instructional designers, the people who create the content, those who curate the interactive content, they have to be more creative. They have to look at the entire flow from, let's say, from the beginning to the end. What do they want to, what level of interaction do they want at minute one? What interaction do they want at minute two? How do they want to sequence the events within that particular content such that it becomes an exciting episode as they learn using the platform? And secondly, we have also seen that there is always slow learning progress when there is no interactivity. So what happens is that there are times when learners start lagging behind during the course, and this is because they lose the interest in the learning process. This way, all the efforts of the instructor are not actually go back and due to drop in the course completion rate. So when you don't have this kind of interaction, or when you don't have tools like the iLearn, then now it means that you will be slowing the learning progress. Then when you look at the third one, there will be lack of interest. So definitely when you use game-based learning, then you spark that interest, which means that people will be glued to the content from the start to the finish. You've also seen, let's say, I've watched certain YouTube videos, you hear that, okay, people want you to watch from the start to the end. And sometimes they're very long videos. So what they do is that they want you to, they want to keep that curiosity going, and they have certain pieces, certain activities within the course of the content, such that you have the interest from the first minute to the last minute. Otherwise, people will watch the first maybe 2 minutes and then drop out of the way. So that is the same concept. You have to maintain that interest so that you're able to have the people glued to the end. Then, of course, when people are bored, obviously they will drop. So in other aspects, people normally get bored when it's just text and illustrations and nothing more. But when you have more activities, more diverse activities within the content, when you have it in game-based scenarios, then of course the boredom is kicked out, and you have a motivated learner base who will always be looking forward to the next content. And of course, you're also lowering cost performance when it's not using the game-based uh, element, because people will be coming and they can even predict what you have. But when you have this game-based learning, then you put a little bit of unpredictability, such that people will actually be able to come, learn, and even when they go through it, they will be able to increase their performances. Because when people learn, ultimately what they want is to get the knowledge and then be able to uh, uh, increase their knowledge base from one point to the next. So this is why game-based learning is important. First of all, you get rid of monotonous learning. You increase your learning progress. You put the interest, or you spark and raise the interest. Then you take away boredom, and then of course you put forward your cost for performance, so you make it higher. So let's move to the next slide.
Okay, before that, George, I have one question for Mr. Pramil that he knows very well since he introduced the iLearn platform in the market, in the educational industry for the trainers in the corporates as well. So how, according to you, Mr. Pramil, learning has helped different industries to get rid of the barriers of traditional learning and eradicate this fatigueness and among the learners and increase their performance levels and motivated them to learn and grow?
See, actually, what happened? So, game-based learning actually transformed the approach of learning delivery. Actually, the learning pedagogy has been changed, uh, and during this pandemic, it is being seen. I think everybody is seeing these experiences, uh, and contents are now getting more engaging, right? And you may find it out easily that which content has actually impressed your learners, right? And made them understandable. So tracking your learners at the exact pain points or understanding your learners learning behavior, or I would say tracking the conceptual of the learners, group participation, and many more things have been made easy using game-based learning, what I have seen. And as well, I would say in order to deliver content as a game, uh, the trainers and faculties members is having the tend to divide the syllabus into levels, and through which the students must they are seeing the progress of students in that way, with students getting some kind of feedback, uh, giving them some feedback rather than giving them some grade. So as I said, like the learning pedagogy has been changed, and this game-based learning is doing a lot of things, right? Because ultimately, when you are conducting the assessment, you are seeing the users have been upgraded ultimately, and in order to be making your content more effective, the game must obviously should align with some kind of learning outcomes at least. Uh, should not be competitive in the conventional sense, actually, what I would say seen actually. Sometimes, obviously, in fact, the game might require the students to work collaboratively or in order to solve problems, while in other contests, game mechanics might make students compete against one another in order to reach a personal best. So, if we'll talk about respect to traditional learning platforms and the game-based learning, uh, the things have been changed in a very drastically way in the last, I would say, since last 3 years, and I think this is our job as well to have this awareness running all over the globe, that learning pedagogy is getting changed, because that's how what we are seeing in the industries. Pooja.
Definitely, definitely, sir. It is a major contribution towards the learners to have more motivation to learn and increase their performance level and excel in their fields. Definitely. Moving on to the next slide, please. So George, you can continue.
Thank you very much. So now let's look at the difference between gamification and game-based learning. So as you can see, what we put there is that gamification involves adding game-based elements such as points, badges, leaderboards, and certifications. So when you have this, so that is the gamification. So what you're trying to do is you're actually adding certain elements, learning in your content, which now brings the big umbrella called gamification. Now, on the other hand, game-based learning involves incorporating the activities. For example, the quizzes, the puzzles, fill-ups, pick and drop, and other activities within the content so that you're able to achieve the same results that normally we want to achieve. So what we not practices, but are aimed at the same learning outcome. So it means that both gamification and game-based learning, we all look towards common objectives and common outcomes with results to what we look up to. So outcome, including and increasing the learner engagement and mitigating a monotony. So they all look towards taking out monotony, and so that you are able to achieve both learning strategies and gamification and game-based learning infuse the learner with the long-term motivation and excitement towards learning. So with that, you see that both are in the right direction, but are different in I would say different in parts, but same outcome or same objective. So that is basically the difference. So gamification, it will be involved you adding game-based elements such as points. When you get to this point, these are the points that you get. When you get to a certain level, you get a badge maybe. Then there are leaderboards, and you get certain certificates at the end of it. So, for example, you've seen these games that let's say kids play, even adults play nowadays. Let's say you are collecting oranges. So you start collecting oranges, then the speed increases. Then as soon as you collect a certain number, then you get, let's say you get certain points. When you get those points, then maybe there could be a different color of orange or a bigger one, a ripe one, which when you pick, you get more points. So if the others were 1 point each, the other one can be 5 points, or it could be 10 points, or even 100 points. So that like that. So if it is being used in terms of points, you'll be able to get those number of points. Then when you get to a certain level, maybe you get a badge, and then you get more points, and then you get a certificate in that particular way.
Absolutely, George. I think so. Gamification is actually an achievement. It's a reward that has been given. And gamified learning is where you are talking about, or we are talking about learning methodology, right? So these are two different things, and everyone should understand as well that for rewarding, for seeing the achievements made by the learners, there's a gamification where you are having the credit points, you are having the leaderboard, you are having the certificates or different things you are doing it. But other side, how they are achieving this grades and certificate, how you are making them the learning more engaging. There is the methodology of game-based learning where you are making your learners learning with different kind of outcome on the basis of some asking them to play while learn while playing the game. So that's how the difference is. Yes, George, please go ahead.
Thank you. So I believe you put the nail on the head. So maybe I don't have much to add. So the game-based learning, you just put in the quizzes, puzzles, fill-ups, and all that, so that you're able to have that kind of engagement. So now let's go to the next slide. Let's see let's look at the advantages of game-based learning. So we all know that
George, before starting the advantages of game-based learning, we have generated a poll, and we request everyone to participate in this poll and submit their answers. We will be highly motivated through your responses in this poll and participation in the poll.
Yes, George, please go ahead.
Yes.
thank you. So now let's look at the advantages of game-based learning. So like we've seen, gamified learning and vis-a-vis game-based learning, the outcome is one. Now let's look at the advantages. So number one advantage is that it increases engagement. So if we had the normal content, let's say if it was a video and we have a normal video, let's say a 3-minute video. So within it, you will just be explaining the concepts, you'll be illustrating, and you'll be doing different, simulations maybe. But now when you have game-based learning, you'll be increasing engagement because you'll be adding activities after certain instances, and the users or the learners will be interacting as they answer the questions, as they are commanded, as they answer let's say the quizzes and do all those kind of activities. So it basically increases the engagement within those cycles. And then as they do that, you'll realize that the students will achieve meaningful and measurable objectives. And the purpose of the game-based learning will not only be to entertain the learners, but to keep a deliberate coordination with the lesson plans, along with making it fun and challenging. So that is self-explanatory. And when we come to the second point, which is to boost memorizing power, we'll realize that one of the major advantages of game-based learning is that it increases the brain's capacity to memorize and to retain concepts for long. Playing games increases the learner's ability to think in a critical way and boosts the ability to learn and retain the information for longer period of time. So this one you've even seen with the little kids when they watch the games from online media or even on TV or televisions. You would see that the children will actually be able to remember those, let's say, those games, the songs, even the alphabets, what they are being taught in schools, more when they watch the games than sometimes when the teacher is actually calculating them. So with that, you can actually be able to confirm that the game-based learning actually boosts the memorizing power because it has that entertaining aspect of it. So they learn as they get entertained, and that even boosts their memorizing power. Then, of course, the third one is that you expedite course completion rates. So obviously, since the game-based learning increases the interest in learning towards the courses, students are likely to stay engaged with the courses and complete them. So we all know that normally with online courses, when there is no interest, then people tend to drop. They don't finish. You start, you have the interest, then when you look at it and you see that maybe it's very long and there is no interactivity, there are no games, then you now lose interest and you drop away. So what happens is that when you have these game-based activities within it and you're playing and you're continuing, then you actually be as excited to continue. And sometimes when you finish, you wish that it actually should have been a little longer. So what you would be missing is that it should have been a little longer. So in that way, you'll have more users actually completing their courses, and that will boost your completion rates with regards to the content. Then finally, we have one of the advantages that it improves knowledge retention. So look, sometimes you can learn a concept, but then after a short time, you forget about it. But when you have it as a game, or when you have the game-based elements within it, we tend to have it more. We retain that knowledge more, because sometimes, let's say, if you had the normal content without the game elements. You go through it. Maybe if there are activities asked in between, you'll be able to just go. If there are no activities, you just listen to it, go, finish. But then if there are activities, then it means that this person will actually be remembering these activities that were enshrined in this particular content. So it means that with the game-based elements, you will actually be retaining more knowledge vis-a-vis the other bit. So I want to leave it there and take it back to Puja.
Sure. Thanks, George. Thanks for sharing the advantage of game-based learning with us and with the participants. Moving on to the next slide, please. Now we will be discussing about about that how game-based learning improves the engagement of the learners. So it first of all, it mitigates the monogamy. Not only mitigates the monogamy, but helps learners to think critically and engage them with the concepts, with the learning material through fun activities, through applying, and they apply their brains, their thought process through the brainstorming sessions. Moreover, it makes fun activity makes training more engaging, where learners learn, fail, relearn, and then succeed in the end. Then game-based learning also simplify the concepts with the use of fun activities. So when there is a fun activity, it gives new perspective to learners to face the challenges and takes them as a task in the fun way, and they overcome the psychological barriers using their creative sides, which helps them to learn the difficult concepts in simplified manner and develop more innovative ideas to boost their productivity levels. So while having fun, game-based learning adds numerous benefits, such as they minimize the stress levels among the learners and reduces the anxiety as well. When they have less stress levels and lesser anxiety, they will be more motivated to learn, and they can use their brain in a more strategical way, in a more structured way to work towards the activities. And in this way, they release the endorphins as well. Now, how endorphins help? There is a brilliant study done by the Oxford University. They help them in coping up with the mental health issues and improves the social interaction among the learners. So it boosts the collaborative learning as well among the learners. And they also reduce the isolation levels. See, when the learners are learning in an isolated environment, performing their own activities, their own course material, going through their own the course material alone, then the learners, they don't feel like working on the environment. Sometimes they get bored also, as George has already discussed. So there are many drawbacks through the traditional learning system, but by adding the game-based learning feature, they can learn with the peers as well through fun activities, involving each other, taking ideas from each other. They are more motivated to better perform in the task. Then game-based learning improves the learner's ability to grasp and retain the information. Definitely, when they are motivated to learn and they have less stress levels and less anxiety as well, so the knowledge retention will be at higher levels. Then it also involves the immersive exploration approach to understand the concept from all angles. There are certain points which one learner is not understanding. He can help the other learner, and then the other learner could help in other aspects to the first learner. So by learning in a group, or by learning in the peer-to-peer learning, helps to get engaged, not only the engagement levels, but increases the learning levels as well. So it bridges the knowledge gap, bring learners more closer to the reality. Now the fourth point is that it provides the prompt feedback. The traditional learning involves test quiz for learners. But in several activities, learners get intimidated by the assessment. But game-based learning prompts instant feedback. It provides instant feedback for learners to understand the topic and helps them to remove the barriers and correct their wrong concepts where they have learned it incorrectly. Then this approach involves learners engaging with the content and receiving feedback based on the task and activity completion. It enables learners to observe themselves where they lack and improve themselves continuously. The feedback enables learners to get personalized attention and improvement in the areas where they earlier used to struggle. Now, next slide, please. Now, how mElimu offers the game-based learning feature. It is through their magic tool iLearn, which is very interactive and content authoring tool. This tool comes with 50 templates to make the learning material interactive, and this interactive tool increases the learning engagement and adds fun to the monotonous training activity. Now, how it is adding fun to the monotonous training activity? Through the different presentations that I've already said, through 50 plus templates, and through the interactive videos, which instructional designers are structuring out based on the activity to activity. These activities can include the course related content as well, and which involves the pick and drops, fill-ups, crosswords, and many other forms of activities. Then instructional designers could also decide whether these activity could be a part of adaptive learning, where they can add restrictions to prevent learners to further continue the course before successful completion of the activity. Then we have the branching scenarios. The branching scenarios actually allow learners to design the course in a form of tree with multiple branches and endings, thereby utilizing various formats to design the content. And you can add the interactive presentations, videos, and other formats to present such a rich content. It is branching scenarios actually provide helps the instructional designers to structure the content in different formats as per the perception of the students, perception ability of the students. Every individual has different levels of perception and they understand the things in different ways. So branching scenario help the designers to prepare the same concept in a different manners as per the ability of the learners. Now, next slide, please. As I've already said that how presentations, the iLearn module has 50 presentations in the form of fill-ups, text, and other forms of interactions, and instructional designers or trainers could add the interactive videos through by adding the activity within the videos. And then we have the branching scenarios that I've already discussed, which helps the learners to structure the content in the form of tree with different branches and endings, which have the same for the same concept. Now, the number of presentations that we have done can be explained in the next slide. You can have a visual of it. Next slide, please, so that the participants could see that how many different types of presentations we have incorporated. These are not all. We have many more. Definitely in a single slide we cannot adjust all the 50, but yes, if you are interested, you can have the demo of our product. Come you can in the next maybe in next 2 slides you can book a demo with us by scanning the QR code. Now we will be moving on to the our case study of Signa Academy, which will be taken up by the George as he has worked closely with the Signa Academy. Okay, now we have a poll. Please participate in it. And so, George, over to you now.
Thank you very much. So even still on that slide, how do iLearn deliver game-based learning experiences? Okay. You could see that we have several. We have maybe just go back a little bit. But the ones go back. Okay, so that's fine. So let's then move to the case study. Okay, so if you could see out of these templates, you have different templates, though not very visible, but you have accordions, you have charts, you have interactive books, you have videos, you have multiple question sets. All these come in the island tool and can be used for game-based learning purposes. So let's go to the case study. So we have worked with different organizations and in different spheres. So like we said, we work in the higher education space, we work in the corporate space, we work with in the healthcare space with nonprofits and so forth. So one of the clients that we have worked with is called Signa Academy. So just move to the next slide. So Signa Academy is based in South Africa, and they also offer courses online for their learners. So if you go to their site, you will see that it's a SETA accredited skill development provider with specialized focus on leadership, online courses and short trainings, short training programs that have a positive impact on BBBEE codes of good practice. So it's a big institution that offers courses, especially in leadership and other skill development short courses. So they, just as other institutions, have been using the traditional way of delivering the content. So what they have seen is that during that era, they would fall into they would face all the other challenges that we have enumerated here, even before in other webinars. But we also realize that we have come a long way. Institutions have come a long way. You remember from the face-to-face, then to online, then now we are actually modifying and improving how content is delivered to the user, because we are looking at the different evolving needs of the learners, and we are able to actually achieve what the learners actually want, because the learners are the biggest beneficiaries of this development. So when you look at what they have done, when they started exclusively using Island, they have got very many benefits, but they want to focus on the three that you can see. So the number one benefit that they got is that they got higher engagements. And how do they measure this? You see, when you have general content, for example, when we normally have in our learning management systems, you could have texts and then illustrations, then you have learning activities. So you see everything might be structured differently depending on how the instructional designers have it, the content creators. But then when you have it as an island package, then what happens is that everything is within that particular content. So you'll have, let's say if it's an interactive video, you will have the interactive video. Then you'd say that, okay, I want these 10 activities within it, different activities. And then those activities, as the learners will actually be going through that particular content and interacting with the content, all the analytics, all the reports will be captured, and the administrators or the people who are in charge will actually be able to see that, okay, in this other scenario, we had this number of users, and this was the level of engagement. But using Island, this is actually the level of engagement. So you are able to see a sharp rise in engagements vis-a-vis the traditional method as to when you're there using the Island. So that brings lots of confidence with the academy management, because when they see lots of user engagement within the platform, it means people are actually learning and people are actually enjoying the course. And the second benefit that they have got is that they have a higher course completion rate. So we know there is nowhere where we have 100% course completion rate, especially if it is an online course. So there are always different challenges. It could be it could even not be related to content itself. It could be financial. It could be different challenges. But what we have seen is that always a large number, especially when it's an online course, a drop because of the non-interactivity of the content or the quality of the content that is being provided out there. So all in all, when those challenges come in place, people normally just drop out of the course and they are not willing to continue. And this is a common scenario in various online content providing companies. You see people, somebody will enroll today, then tomorrow they will drop. But now when you have interactivity and you have all these, an array of over 50 templates just to be able to use to create your material, then you realize that you have the learner's interest at heart, and you'll be giving them what they want, and they will not be able to drop out. They will actually stick to the content and be able to finish. Then the third one, which is the last one for today, is that they have a higher knowledge retention, meaning people are actually able to learn and be able to retain that information for themselves for a very long time. When you just have a plain, let's say plain video, they will listen to it, they will pick what they pick, and then they will be able to move. But then when you have several activities, it's like repeating. You know, you train, you ask the same question differently in another question, like that. So they will actually be able to retain that knowledge and be able to utilize it for a longer period of time. So that is Sigma Academy. We have several other institutions that are using completely island only. But today we wanted just to highlight Sigma Academy and be able to share with you their benefits that they have. So you can also go and check them out and be able to learn more about them on their website. You just type Sigma Academy, and then you'll be able to see what they provide. So back to you, Pooja.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for sharing important insights through this case study, that how the organization and institutions are getting benefited through the iLearn platform. Now, Mr. Pramil, it would be a luminous side if you could share that definitely the educational industry and the corporate industry are two different verticals. So how gamification and game-based learning, two different technologies, fit into this industries and how they are being benefiting the different industries.
Sure. Thanks, Pooja, again for inviting me. I'm seeing there's a question coming on as well, so I will cover that part as well. I think Peter has asked how will the learner balance reading and gaming during a learning period. I think I would like to correlate with the same thing. So Peter, you might remembering when you were a kid, right? So there was always a storybook coming into it. And these storybooks always having the pictures, right? And that's what we talk about. A picture is worth 1,000 words, because it can tell us the whole story about the data, not just a small part of it. So there's nothing new that we are talking about it. When you are asking users to for learning and doing the reading, we are asking doing it while playing it, while seeing it, right? So it makes the information more transparent and understandable. And that's why these stories, what we have read when we were kids, we are still remembering those stories still. And if I'll ask some questions of class 8th grade or class 10th grade, I think most of the people will not be able to answer. But if I'll ask the story of it, I think most of the people will going to answer, because when we all of us read that story, it was all with infographics there. Those storytelling were happening with some pictures, and that's how made it learning for us. That's how made it added in our mind for longer years. Coming to your question, Pooja, I think the So using a game-based learning methodology it's actually not just creating an activity for the learners, right? What you as an institution, what you are doing, you are building an emotional connection to learning to learners and subject matter, actually, right? You are providing an opportunity for feedback and the practices, right? You are you are making sure that each individual that the teachings can be customized as per individual people, right? Or I would say once you are doing these kind of activities, or obviously what you are gaining as well, that each learner behavior you are tracking and their interest you are tracking, because on that interest or behavior you would be able to plan as an industry, as an institution, that what next course of action should be taken when you're launching any kind of courses or correlated courses, right? Obviously there are other benefits happening, not only in terms of, you'll see from the institution side as well, in terms of the trainer as well, that right right focus of trainers on right learners, but should be at the right time. That's how it is going to solve it, right?
Right.
Ultimately, when you are creating these kind of interactive contents, right? So what you are doing as well, you are making a big content bank as well. You have set up a big content bank. Start thinking of it, how could we use these content bank for different purposes? You can utilize it for a commercialize, you wanted to monetize that contents, you wanted to make it self-paced, you wanted to make it for your internal learners practices. So all you can do it. Obviously, learners are coming for the examinations, and those are serious examinations. But these contents, these interactive contents are actually helping the learners in a very different way. So you can use it for the practices purpose as well. And obviously you are saving the institutions, corporates, and other institutions or corporate. You are saving a lot of time as well for rebuilding again those contents again and again. So you have everything within the system with those interactive contents, and
Right.
that's why the self-paced learning also came in the market. That's why the continuing education being started, right? So this is how things have been started. And I would I'm seeing there's another question coming as well from Samuel. The how to establish that is using this platform, there's a improved learning
Indeed.
engagement and better learning outcomes, right? So Samuel, uh, when you're creating your contents, right, there's a two-way. You look over it from the two-way, the normal traditional approach for the learning and training that you are conducting, right? And when you are talking about the gamified learning, right? What I'm saying, don't believe that, but you should try it. You should try it. You use either, rather than going with the online platform, you can use it practically. You should do physically those things. You get certain game plan, and that should learn the users with certain outcomes. And then you plan it, making or getting things established online. You will see that the learning outcomes are very different. Engagement is very different. Why we are so I'm here to share you the other experiences, what I am seeing from the other institutions, corporates, and the higher ed and the TVET colleges, because it's been 3 years. This kind of tool being running the 3 years. It's not only that people are only using gamified learning. There are other people who are using normal, but there's a difference, huge difference. George was talking about Cigna. I remember Cigna started with 1500, and they were using previously two other LMS as well. When I met with them in South Africa, they were working already with a couple of other LMS. Previously, they were using some other LMS, then they use another LMS, and finally they came with us, and we opened the different doors for them. we opened the doors. So previously they were running the batches twice in a year. Now how they are doing it, they are running the batches every month. So they are now having more than, I would say, some around 10,000 users have been added in the last 3 years. It drastically increased from 3,000 to 10,000. Similarly, if I talk about a lot of other use cases we have and why it is happening, how it is happening, because your learners are actually sharing these experience to other. They have a big community. The learners always have a bigger community than us, if you'll see. They are studying in one college where there are already 300 in the groups. And those 300, you will find it out, they are already knowing other colleges, 20 people each person. So you will find that learners are having a big group. You talk about in corporate sector, you talk about in higher ed, you talk about anywhere. These references works very well. Without doubts, they quickly come to the system and they quickly start with them. So,
Thanks, Mr.
so
Pramil.
that's
Definitely.
how things have been increased. Yeah, Pooja,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, and since we are moving short of time, but definitely game-based learning leaves an everlasting impression onto the learner's brain, and it helps them memorize the concept and retain the concept for a longer period of time, maybe for lifetime. So moving on to our demo, I would like to invite Miss Urvashi to walk through a short demo for iLearn and how branching scenarios is incorporated into the iLearn. Over to you, Urvashi.
Yeah, thank you, Pooja. So I'll just share my screen. Can you please allow me to share my screen?
Sure, Urvashi. Just give me a second.
Sure.
Yes, Urvashi, you can share now.
Yeah, thank you. I hope it is visible, right? Okay. So it is not just about the branching scenario. I'll be basically trying to show you the 4-5, like out of the lot of 50 that we have, what are the 4-5 highlights that can be utilized for the content purpose. So like this is one sample of it, which is interactive video. So if I'll just play this, so basically a question appears over here regarding this video. As this video will move ahead, you can basically add multiple kind of interactions within one video. Like here, it can be added that what berry is being used now. We have also given a provision that if you want to restrict your learners, that they should not be able to proceed until and unless they have selected the right answer. So you can also restrict them with that. Like here, if you see, it is asking me that I'll have to highlight all the ingredients that have been added so far. If I'll just check this, so in this case, it is asking me to watch the intro again, as I have selected the wrong answer as milk, right? So that also indicates that I was not attentive while I was doing this video. So I can just watch I'll again have to watch it from the beginning. At the end of this, a report is also being generated. Once the learner will submit the answers, the admin would be able to view, the trainers would be able to view that, like how many questions were there, how many they have attempted, and like whether they were attentive while going through the content or not. Then the other way is the interactive book which we have. So within the interactive book, basically you can create a digital book within the system, right? Like this, you can see this is a book over the berries, like the strawberries, the raspberries, and the blueberries. Within the strawberries, here is the cultivation history, culinary. If you want to view the history of strawberry, you can view that from here. Then if I'll just go, you'll be able to viewing the details about it. Then followed by the description, there would also be you can also attach the quiz related to it, or you can also attach the drag and drop related to it. Also, at the end of this, there is an option of summary and submit. So within the summary, the learner will be also able to view that, like how many answers they have submitted and what is their score that they have achieved, right? So this will basically be tracked both the ways, on the learner's end and also on the admin's end. This is the another type of I learn that we have. This is which is course presentation. So under the course presentation, basically you can create the interactive slides, like you can add images to it, you can add a video to it or a text to it. And each slides can have like multiple questions within here, right? You can add multiple questions within the same slide. And once this has been completed, either you can just enable the source solution or you can retry. So this is a part of configuration which you can select that how it should be viewed. Then this is a timeline kind of I learn. So suppose if you want to see, if you want to indicate the timeline of your like company, that how is the journey has been like with which you started and how you are going currently, so you can basically show your timeline through this particular island. Then we have a branching scenario which we were talking about. So within the branching scenario, what you can do basically is that if I'll just start the learning here, this is the detail which I get. Now, if I'll just go to next and if I'll just select the Eastern Arc, so it is asking me that this is something wrong that I have selected. That also means that I was not attentive while I was going through this. Right. So I'll again have to go with the learning. I'll now, if I have just selected the Western art, and now I can just proceed that what I want to go through. Like if I want to get a detailed description of Renaissance, so I can get a detail of Renaissance from here. So this is how a branching scenario can be created. Now, if I just move ahead, then we also have a documentation tool. So suppose if you're working on any project, right? So you can create a documentation, you can utilize a documentation tool where you can define that like what is the objective of your product, right? What is the goal of it, and what is the plan of it, then on which basis this will be evaluated, and like what is the assessment. And once it is done, once you will just click on done, the documents will be created. And once this document is being created, these documents can be submitted and these documents can also be exported from here. So this is how basically you can utilize the, like how you can utilize the iLearn in creating multiple kind of interactive contents. Yes, Pooja.
Thanks. Thanks, Urvashi. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing the demo. And it was really very explanatory. And guys, since we are running short of time, if you want a more exploratory and explanatory demo, you can scan the QR code from here and you can book the meeting with our experts. They will walk you through the complete platform and share all the insights that you need to know. And
So Pooja, there's a
Mr.
question. There's a
Mr.
question.
Jerry,
from
yes.
Jerry, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I would also like to uh, give a quick announcement to everyone uh, after this session. So there's a question came actually from Jerry. Is there no tendencies for student to focus on points received after completing a task than focusing on what to learn? Jerry, it's a your approach, your methodology, how you wanted your contents or your students to walk through it, right? System always has the facility to create your own approach when you are talking about the content delivery or when you are talking about the um content delivery as well as the relevant activity. So it's all your choices, how you wanted the system to be running. As well as what I would like to add, there's also these concepts can also be enabled and being used in the system. It's all your choices how you wanted to configure it and running your system. Another question coming from the Rosemary, would you please share the recording so we can follow throughout over and over again? Obviously, Rosemary, nice to see you again. Obviously, everyone will be receiving the recording session as well as the participation certificate as well, who all have been joined. And obviously, as Pooja is saying as well, that we are running with the time. So there's a QR code being given all of you. You can quickly scan the QR code and you can book the slots if anyone is interested for the product demo. But very important announcement I'd like to add here as well that mElimu has launched is launching this quarter the AI content creation, right? So this is something, a new thing that is coming within the LMS. And hopefully the next webinar, when we will be meeting all of us, obviously we will be taking you to the AI content creation, how it can help in the institutions. A good example is, obviously, we'll more focus with a lot of use cases that we have solved and other challenges of the institution. We will cover in the next webinar. See you all in the next webinar. Thanks all of you. Bye-bye.
Thanks all of you for participating in the webinar, and you can ask your queries onto our, you can send your queries to ask us @gmail.com. Sorry, ask us @mElimu.com, and we will answer all your queries through that, and you can book the demo session as well. Thanks a lot. And thanks, Mr. Pramil and George, for joining the webinar and sharing your insights.
Over there.
Have a good day, sir.